What's going on, everyone? This is Will here with the Commander Duo, coming at you with another deck profile, this time featuring Vishgraz, the Doomhive. Legendary Phyrexian insect, 3/3 with Menace and the new Toxic 1 mechanic. Sorry about the focus. There we go. It has, when it enters the battlefield, create 3/1/1 Phyrexian mites with Toxic 1 and they cannot block. Also, it gets +1/+1 for each poison counter your opponents have. So this Vishgraz can get pretty big pretty fast, and what's cool about this deck, being that Infect and Toxic is probably pretty hot right now, is it's going to get boosted even when your opponents are causing Infect to others, just not ourselves. So this thing could be pretty scary. These are the Phyrexian mites. They're the 1/1s with Toxic 1. It will focus, and they can't block. I don't know why it's not focusing, but that's what it does. So yeah, what made me want to make this deck was, one, the artwork on this. When we first pulled this card, it's so cool. I mean, the artwork on this thing is amazing. I don't know why I'm having such focusing issues with this camera right now. I apologize for that. There we go. But yeah, the art on it is just gorgeous. I had to. We actually pulled the non-foil, so I had to go buy the foil because I wanted the foil version of it. It was only a couple bucks though, so that's actually pretty cheap for most of the cards, which is awesome. Minus like the Elish Norns and the oil slicks. So one thing that is different about this build is it's mainly all built from the new set. So there's not really any of the old school Infect cards or anything like that. It's mostly just the new stuff. So it's going to have a lot of the Toxic effect, but not really much for Infect. So before you do watch the video, just keep in mind this is a very like all will be one version of how I would build it. Not like a general one with like all the other Infect cards that are really good, like Skithrix and Phyrexian Crusader, stuff like that. So if that's not what you're looking for here, you know, you don't have to, feel free to stop the video, but if you're interested, I think it's a really cool build, and it is very budget friendly, and mostly all from the new set. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started here. Starting off with the creatures. Alright, so starting things off, we have one of the other really cool arts, the Ixil Scion of Atraxa. This one has Flying, Vigilance, Toxic 2, and it's a 2/5, so pretty good stats. I'm gonna try to fix my lighting here. There we go. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent who has 3 or more poison exiles the top card of their library face down. You can look at it, play those for as long as they remain exiled, and spend mana of any color to cast those spells. So one thing really cool about this and Vishgraz is they both share the same colors. They both have Toxic, so if you ever want to switch the commanders around, you can totally do that, and it's not going to affect the build very much. The way I built this is they're interchangeable, so if you get bored of one, you can always switch to the other. So I thought that was really cool. So yeah, we have Ixil. Then we got this bad boy, our Tyrannic Rex, super cool with the with that foiling effect. Trample, Toxic 4, Ward 4, and Haste, and it's an 8/8, and it can't be countered. So this is a big scary boy. Then we have our Venerated Rot Priest with Toxic 1. Whenever a creature you control becomes a target spell, target opponent gets a poison counter, so very nice for protection and for applying poison, and it also has the Toxic as well. We got Bloated Contaminator. Deal combat damage, proliferate, and you'll see all these ones at first are all Toxic only. Trample Toxic, whenever one or more creatures deals combat damage, proliferate, and then it has a corrupted effect as well. Pretty cool. We got Skrelv, awesome artwork, silly little card, and a pretty good effect. We have Glissa's Retriever, Haste Toxic 3, can be blocked by creatures 2 or less. Then when it dies, it has an effect with the corrupted, and it's a 6/6. So in case you guys don't know, sorry I didn't say this at first, but Toxic is dealt in addition to the regular damage rather than pure infect. So if this swung, let's say unblocked, your opponent's taking 8 damage and they're getting 4 infect, just so you guys know. Yep, and then we got our Plague Nurse here. Toxic 2, you can pay 3. Each other creature you control with Toxic gains Toxic 1. Till end of turn, activate only once each turn. So this buffs all our Toxic up by 1. Very cool. Very good card. There's more Toxic cards that I could have run, but I ran out of space, so I grabbed what I thought was the best. Toxic 6. Can't be blocked by creatures 2 or less. Doesn't do much else. It just applies a lot of infect if it gets through. Brutalizer. When it enters, you can pay extra to proliferate, kind of like a kicker, and it's a Toxic 3. Haste, Toxic 3, and it's a really cool dinosaur, so I had to run that. The Ichor Spit, Toxic 1, Death Touch, pretty simple. Jawbone, Double Strike, Toxic 1. Annex Sentry, it exiles an artifact or creature 3 or less until it leaves the field, so it's a Toxic, and it has some removal. Flensing Raptor, Flying Toxic 1, it can give something +1 in fly until end turn if it has Toxic. First Strike, Toxic 1 if it's your turn. Creepy card, it's a 1-drop. You'll notice I went with a lot of small drops because it's supposed to be a fast deck. It applies poison as quick as it can. Toxic 2, when it enters, you can turn something to hand. Has a couple requirements for it, but yeah. Flying, Toxic 1. Blight Belly, when it dies, proliferate, Toxic 1. Death Touch, Toxic 1. Again, very focused on small cards. We want to get this deck going fast, take out our opponents fast. I would say this deck is going to do best in a 1v1. If you're the only infect player, expect to get focused. This deck is pretty toxic. I'm sure everybody's heard that joke now. That one's super cool. Toxic 2, whenever a creature with Toxic deals combat, player gets an additional poison. Then you can give things Death Touch if they already have Toxic, so that's crazy. Got a Mirror Convert, taps for mana, Toxic. This one is super cool. I almost cut it because it really only just gives Proliferate, but I thought the flavor of this card and just how badass it looked was worth keeping alone, and it is a good card. Commander enters or attacks, Proliferate. Kinzu, for protecting our cards, this deck is very susceptible to board clears. That's like its biggest downside. So this, if a board clear goes off, you can pay 2 life for each of your creatures, exile them, and create copies of them with Toxic. So this on board, on a board clear, you'll basically get to bring everything else but this back in the form of a 1/1 with Toxic 1, so a chance to fight again. Pretty cool. Canker Bloom for the utility and the Proliferate. And then you already saw the Ixal. So that is it for that batch. Those are the creatures there. So moving on, we have our Contagion engine for proliferating. We have our Contagion Clasp, again for proliferating, just to have consistent proliferating when we can't get our creatures through. We got the new card Geth Summons, really cool. Brings the card back to battlefield, but then if people have 3 or more poison, for each opponent you also get to grab something from their grave, so that could be very cool in the mid to late game. This returns a creature from grave to battlefield, also has Proliferate. This is basically like our toolbox of proliferating that also do other things. Creature gets -4/-4, Proliferate. Creature gets -1/-1, Proliferate. Expand the Sphere, very cool. So you get to search 6 cards from the top of your library, put up to 2 lands onto the battlefield tapped. If we don't get any lands, or say we get 1 land, for each land you didn't pull, you proliferate. So you could also just do this to proliferate twice, because it's up to 2. And we have Thirsting Roots, search for a basic or proliferate. It's a 1-drop, pretty nice. Our Carnivorous Canopy, destroy artifact, enchantment, creature with flying. If the permanent's value was 3 or less, proliferate. We have Unnatural Restoration. Again, more ways to proliferate. Then we have, I think her name's Vraska, I believe. We only pulled the Phyrexian version, so I'll hold this up here, and then I'll put up the real one right here so you can see what it actually does. I know that 0, I think, is a proliferate, so very, very strong. When you draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, each opponent gets a poison, so this is just applying our poison. Infectious Bite, target creature you control deals damage to its equal to its power to a creature you don't control, each opponent gets a poison. Phyrexian Outbreak, each opponent gets a poison, and then each creature gets -1 until end of turn for each poison counter they have, so that's pretty good. Then we got the new one, Norn's Decree, which is kind of like a, hey, if you attack me, you get poison kind of thing. Has 2 effects too if you want to look at it. Really cool. Oh, did I put 2 of those in here on accident? I did. Whoopsies. Well, yeah. Sorry, I accidentally put 2 in. I just built this. I actually had a couple cards I took out, so I guess you could run either of these as an alternate or just whatever else. So ignore that I made a mistake and put 2 of these in. Vraska's Fall. Each opponent sacks a creature, gets poison. This one is nice. Target player draws 3 cards, loses 3 life, gets 3 poison. You can just do this to apply 3 poison to someone if you want. Noxious Assault. Creatures get +2/+2. Whenever a creature blocks this turn, it gets a poison. So if we want to try to get all that damage through, like with Phyrexian Mites, they're going to get a poison even if they block. So it's pretty cool. Really nice new card. We got our Injector. Just gives it 0/2 and Toxic 1. It's a very, very cheap equip. So it can add... Toxic does stack. So if you put it on one of these, it would have Toxic 2. Speaking of, this gives it Toxic 2, and then if it dies, it gets returned to the battlefield. So good protection if you wanted to put it on your commander. Add 2 Toxic to the commander, and it's a menace with Toxic 3. So pretty cool. The only actual true infect cards I run is Triumph of the Horde and Tainted Strike. This with your commander can get a pop shot in to secure game, and then this is just such a good game closer. It always has been. So those are the only 2 cards that give true infect. Everything else is toxic. Moving on here, we have our Eerie Ultimatum for the late game, just to bring the fight back in because the deck would struggle with board clears, like I said. Then we have the new card, White Sun Zenith. Gain X life, create X Phyrexian Mites. If it's 5 or more, destroy all other creatures. Very cool. Very badass artwork on that. We got a Monument to Perfection. I'm not going to read all that, but if you want to pause, it's pretty crazy. And I do run a lot of the new spheres. I think all of them that I can run. So it can also search its lands. Skrelv's Hive. Can't run Skrelv without Skrelv's Hive. So had to do it. This is probably one of the coolest new cards they made. Enters tapped, but when it enters, you proliferate. It adds 1 mana of any color, but then if an opponent has 3 or more poison, it's adding 3 mana of any one color, which is crazy. And that artwork is just honestly insane. It looks so good. Sol Ring. And then moving on here, we have an extensive protection package. This is the complete package here. We have a Golgari Charm for generating our creatures. Eerie Interlude for avoiding board clears. Clever Concealment also for avoiding board clears. It has Convoke, which is awesome. Heroic Intervention, targeting and board clears. Akroma's Will for securing game and protection from board clears, because you do have Indestructible as one of those options. But if you have your commander out and you cast this, you're getting insane damage going through, because Double Strike is going to apply that Toxic twice. Flawless Maneuver, again, board clear, board clear, board clear, and protection from everything, including board clears. Again, this package is to make sure we at least open with 1, because this deck is going to be very vulnerable to board clears, and if you don't open with a board clear and 1 happens, you're probably not going to recover from it. So, last but not least here, we have the lands. Starting off with the new lands here, we have my favorite one, the Seed Core, with the coolest art. Look at that. So cool. Adds 1 mana of any color for Phyrexian creatures. I think just about every creature in here is Phyrexian, so it's always going to have value. And then it has that corrupted effect as well. If I can get that to refocus. There we go. Target 1/1 creature gets +2/+1. Activate only, yeah. It's not bad, but it's a tap effect, so you can basically buff your mites, I guess, if you want. We got Myrix, which creates us mites. Cool artwork as well. Then we have the 3 spheres that we can run. They're okay. I'm mainly running them for flavor. You don't have to run them, but they are spheres that we can search with the monument, so pretty cool. Then, of course, all of our basics have to be the Phyrexian basics. So we got 3 of the plains looking beautiful. We got 3 of these swampy boys and 3 of these forests. Yeah, these just look so cool. I'm excited. We got the complete bundle. box coming in beginning of March, because you know we don't get all that early access that some people get when they get products a month beforehand. So we got to wait patiently on those, but I'm excited to get the oil slicks. Then for lands, this package right here is so interchangeable. It's not my like complete like solid land base. It's just what I could scrap together with what I had. So I am gonna run the 3 fetches: Verdant, Windswept, and Marsh. The 3 shocks: Godless, Gardens, and Overgrown Tomb. The 3 pathways: we got Dark Boar, Boulder Loft, and Bright Climb, so they give us access to our 3 colors. Then of course the command tower, I snatched this from our Warhammer set because it looks kind of Phyrexian in my opinion. Then I do have these 2, Fetid Heath and Wooded Bastion for mana fixing. Shine Shadow Snarl, super cool card from the Strixhaven set. You could probably run all 3 of the Snarls if you wanted to. They are good. Then Prismatic Vista, Woodland Cemetery, Unclaimed Territory for our Phyrexians because it's 1 mana of any color. Then we have Llanowar Wastes and Razor Verge Thicket. And then we got Temple of Plenty and Temple of Silence. I think we have like 33 or 34 lands, I want to say, is what the base is. So yeah, good mana base, but you can obviously interchange these lands out. It doesn't need to be those ones specifically. And yeah, again, this is very much a toxic only version of it, where we're not running like the Skithrix and other things that give regular infect. I just wanted it to be kind of all from the new set. Different from the precon as well. I built this from scratch. I wasn't able to get the precon locally because they're very sought after. So yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. Appreciate any comments, questions, any suggestions on things to add that aren't regular infect that I may have missed from the new set, because it is supposed to be just kind of from the new set. But yeah, and then stay tuned. We got more deck profiles coming up, and I do have plans on releasing an updated new tutorial on proxy making for altars and everything like that. The full guide on all of it, because things are a lot different now with Card Conjurer and all that stuff. So I plan on getting that out as soon as I can. Again, we're very busy, and this is just a hobby channel. We don't get any money from it or anything. It's just for fun. So, you know, we get to it whenever we can. But yeah, sometimes there are delays on that. But I know the videos we have currently are outdated on that stuff now. So I do apologize for that. But yeah, plan on getting that to you guys very soon. And if you haven't already, check out our Discord. We have a growing community on there. We share things proxy related, talk about new sets, cards, pretty much whatever, any questions you have. We're always there to help, and we get to you guys a lot quicker sometimes than on YouTube. So I will make sure to put a link in the description below. For this, I'm not going to mox field the deck just because it's not super solid. It's I just wanted to get this out early and get it built. I'm sure I'll probably tune it down the road and then release like a very more updated version of it if I actually enjoy it. I've never actually played an infect deck before, so this is my first time building one that's basically infect. So yeah, alright guys, thanks again for watching. Take care.